Hello, Glenn.
Hi, Matt. That's right.
Introduce yourself and tell us who you are.
Okay.
What you do.
Yeah, I'm Glenn. I'm founder of Converge Games, a board games enthusiast, massive nerd, all things fantasy and sci-fi, and mainly fantasy. And been designing games on and off for as long as I can remember, really, even since I was very small.
What about we used to play?
Well, this is it. We had like the old school games like Hero Quest and Space Crusade.
Hero Quest and Space Crusade.
We used to gut them and make our own games out of them.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, you remember that? And there were a few. I remember making a few games and thinking, and going, "Oh, try this one," and you going, "Oh, that's really good." I remember.
Well, how old were we at this point, though?
Like,
I reckon, I was older, so I reckon I was maybe 12.
I think it might have been even younger.
Because
I remember doing this at our nan's.
Yeah.
And during summer holidays, so
you'd have been
I think it might be
child prodigy
8
stuff.
or something.
So you've been basically designing games since you were 8.
I think so. Yeah.
I think look, no one's gonna.
It's all a blur.
No one's gonna fact check this.
No.
So I think we can say you were literally born and then you started making games.
Yeah, sure, immediately.
That's what we'll do.
Yeah. I do remember doing stuff at primary school as an older primary school kid and designing games to help infants learn numbers and stuff, and that was a thing because that was a little project thing. It's just you can do something that means you interact with the infant class, and I was just I'll make a game. I remember doing that there, so you know
it's always been in your blood. Then,
yeah. I've always been happy at creating, even when looking at the TTRPG space. I was always hacking Dungeons and Dragons to make it work for the group, or making new classes and things like that. So I've always been a designer. I've always been writing.
Tinkerer as well.
Always, looking at things and going, that doesn't work for me. It might work for other people, but I don't feel like that. That doesn't feel right. So I'm just going to change it so it works for the table. I still do that to this day in any games I'm running, because you just get this feeling and no, there's just something about that rule. It just doesn't click.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel intuitive. It doesn't work for, especially if you're talking about TTRPG. This rule doesn't work within the narrative. So you build a rule that works for the narrative. And that's always been my skill, I think, is make a rule that makes sense for the story.
Yeah.
So
tell me about rules versus narrative.
Yeah.
And kind of where you sit in that spectrum.
Right slap bang in the middle. I'm a big fan of both. I love the rules. I love the crunch. Always love, I'm a big action RPG fan, and RPGs in general. I love being able to build a character and build something that's yours. It's I've done this. No one else has built this because I've got this particular combination of skills. I've always loved that crunch, but it's always got to work for the story. Having a character that enhances your ability to tell a story, and a story that comes from, even in a board game, you're playing a game and creating a story as you go, and you can go this means I've got the ability to take over this kingdom, which I didn't have before. It's and that might not be within the rules of the game, but it feels like that's what you're doing in the narrative.
Yeah, you can make it work for the story of your character.
Yeah, and I always like that. It's I've built this character, I'm doing this, and then a story evolves around it, and that's always been fun with board games that do that. I've always had a lot of fun with.
Yeah, cool. So have you got a favourite board game?
So many. That is really hard.
Aside from the ones you've designed.
Well, yeah, I can't. Yeah, that would be a little off to say.
There's not one that you always go back to.
A game that I'd always go back to. I really like Terraforming Mars, the Ares Expedition version, which is it's an engine builder card game, and it's quite quick, and you get to build up. It's the crunchiness. You get to build up a little builder. Love an engine builder because you get to build up your own little tableau of skills, which is unique to you, and you can have combinations that proc off at certain times. That's always a good one. I'm always a fan of deck builder. Slay the Spire, big fan of. That's very, very well done. Cooperative deck builder. So I think I certainly, although I can't pick a game right off the top of my head that is just like, yeah, that's my absolute favourite. But I do love an engine builder. I do love a deck builder. Making any game that involves you making something that means you have something that's unique that you're never going to be able to get again realistically. It's like, oh, this game I've made this thing. Like, yeah, that's really cool. And I've done this combo and this combo. It's quite fun when you pull something off and the whole table goes, well, how did you do that? It's like, well, I just got lucky. Or I've been planning this all the way through, and I've just slowly been pulling these resources that you all think were useless to you. But with these particular cards or skill combos, I've created something that's quite special. Having games that allow that is always really fun. I've always really enjoyed that.
That's cool. Like it. And TTRPGs. Talk about TTRPGs.
Right, yeah. I mean, that's always been... I always love a story. I'm a LARPer as well, so doing something where you are also acting and playing with rules in usually a fantasy setting for me, although I do love a bit of sci-fi on occasion. Having that collaborative element of storytelling with people around the table is something quite special. And you get, especially the way I run games, I'm quite open in the way I will we've got obviously quite a well-built world, and so I'll set scenes within that world, but I'll never have an ending in mind. I'll never have an outcome in mind until the players hit that, because they will change things. Usually forever, which is always good fun. I always like that. Even when I'm playing a game, I like that idea of, oh, I might mess up this guy's world for forever by the choices I make. I've made a really dumb choice. That's my buy-in as personally as a TTRPG player. I like it when a games master's world is constantly fluid and flowing. They're not going to redo the same adventure again and again with a different group. It's like, no, this game is unique to you, and what you do will change my world. That's the ethos that I bring into when I run games. Every game I run is canon, if you like, within the world of Kinsaw. When we play games in Kinsaw, it's like, no, you've done that, you've made this choice, that's canon now. This is something that I'm going to have to deal with in future iterations of the world, or other players are going to have to later deal with. See this a lot in our stream in Starfall, our stream for our Shattered Destinies TTRPG. Kai in particular has been a player of the game. We started Kinsaw about 20 years ago. That's when it started to evolve and develop, and we've been playing it through various different game systems. Rollmaster and Dungeons and Dragons were probably like the main ones that we used, but we tried a load of others as well. Rollmaster is Key of Crunch, but they do quite some good narrative blendings, but you do need a spreadsheet to run your character. So there's a downside there. But Kai in particular, I will drop something very minor, relatively minor in a story that we're playing, and you'll see a reaction from him. His eyes will go wide, because this will trigger a memory of something that he's done in the past that I've brought back to haunt him.
Like 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, some of these things are slight burns, because I'm like, oh, I'll just make a note of that and I'll hold that back for a future campaign or a future game. And we'll see it in Starfall. As Starfall draws to a close, the characters, if they survive, will return at some point, whether played by the same people or as NPCs that I'll be playing in the background. But the choices they make will affect the world and will probably affect future games and future campaigns we run. I always love that feeling of, as a group, we have gathered together and we have written a world, and it's changed completely by the choices we've made. Yeah. That's always a lot of fun.
That's cool. And so, off the back of that, like, how did Shattered Destinies as a system come about?
So that came about because I hadn't really found a TTRPG that did what I wanted it to do. And that was blend mechanics and narrative in such a way that it felt intuitive. A lot of games get some of the way there, but they're quite rules light, in that there's not enough options. There's not enough crunch in those games that bring you mostly narrative and lean into narrative. And then you have the other side of it where you've got a lot of crunch, but some of the rules don't make sense for the setting. rolling a dice at a certain time might not seem like the right thing to do in a narrative way. Or you might have a rule for everything, and it takes so long to look up that in a way that doesn't feel intuitive because, we need a mechanic for this because someone might fall off a cliff, so we need a special mechanic for someone grabbing on and saving themselves. But you realise that this is an entirely different mechanic that feels tacked on. So Shattered Destinies came about as a way of blending that in a way that felt intuitive. So it was always, and I think that's why we lent onto a dice pool system, because it just worked for the mechanic. The more successes you get, the greater the level of success. The greater level you get your way more. It works for information gathering, it works for combat, it works for manoeuvres, and it just seems to blend. And people just dive into it because you can just say, this is the number, that's how many dice you roll, you want 6s. And that's it. And they can roll and go, I got 2 successes. Great, done. So you get 2 levels of success. So I will give you 2 good things, 2 things you want to happen. And then there's the reverse flip side. We've added a threat system. So if you fail and you roll 1s, then the 1s go for the GM to make things worse for you in the future. It's like, I have to punish you for this. There are ways to get around it. Dice manipulation was always key for that. I like the ability to, and it's something that's not in most games, is I'm going to hurt myself to succeed this. I'm going to, an attrition system where you can spend your hit points, your vigour, to manipulate your dice to give you a better chance of success. So you could fail a roll very badly, but it could be a roll that you really wanted to succeed. Like, I need to succeed this. Otherwise, my party member here, my friend the dwarf, is going to die. So I need to get there, fend off the attacks that are coming his way. But I've rolled really badly. So I tell you what, I'm going to spend some of my resources, which I won't get back until rest or even further, depending on how messed up I am through this situation, and so that I can re-roll dice and I've got a better chance of success. And that feels really fun because in the moment you take that choice, the character takes a deep breath and goes, no, I'm going to do this, rushes forward. And that's why we've got a potential system as well to do something quite similar, which is like a character advancement system. You spend these points whenever you want. So you might make a dice roll and think, no, I really want to succeed this. I've got some potential. I will use it to boost this roll. And once you've boosted that roll, that is your stat forever in that potential that you add on to your skill, that is permanently added onto your character. So there's that moment of, I really need to make this, I really need to cast this spell. This spell needs to go off, it needs to be big. So I'm going to spend this extra resource to level up my character right here and now to make that succeed. And you can do that in the middle of the roll. So you might be 1 short and think, I've got 3 potential to roll, or to use. I'm going to use that to roll 3 more dice. I mean, it locks in my level up to that skill I need to cast that spell, but it makes sense in the narrative. It's that moment of the character suddenly having clarity in a tense situation of being able to go, this needs to happen. Which I think it works quite well in certain narratives. It feels quite satisfying to do, especially when you get the roll, especially when the roll comes off. It does feel quite fun.
This is something that other systems just don't allow for, right? Like Dungeons and Dragons doesn't.
No, they don't do a lot in the way of dice manipulation. They have like a lot of modifiers and things, and other systems do. I think there will be other systems that brush on it that have similar kind of systems, but it's the blending of everything we've put together that I haven't found in another system. You might be able to modify dice in certain ways, but not to the level of, I'm going to use my hit points to do this. Yeah. I'm going to, making it quite open-ended for the narrative, but still have rules behind it that are fairly intuitive to follow. I think that's what Shattered Destinies has that's beyond a lot of the other TTRPGs I've experienced. There might be other indie TTRPGs out there that do similar things, and bless everyone that has tried. It's great. That's the space we're in, is making a game that works for our table. Yeah, and I think that's the main thing. Is like this works really well for the table, and it's really easy to play with people just dropping in. We've done countless demos and small games with people that have never even heard of the system or never tried the system, and some flat, straight newbies to TTRPGs in general. and it works really well. You just got to have you just got to bring an imagination, and that's about it. That's all you really need, and a willingness to move with the narrative.
Yeah, awesome. Going from the TTRPG, how did you end up making a board game?
So everything kind of originally, I had an idea for a deck builder, and that was the first game that I started work on. In the end, that got shelved because this will happen in game development. Is you'll get to a certain point in the development, you go, right, this works, but it needs to cook a bit longer. I, of course, started on the most complex project I could think of, which is a full deck builder that would work as a living card game, and decided to shelf it for the time being. This was going on around the same time as we started work on the TTRPG, because I realised that it would all inform each other. The work we were doing on the TTRPG, the dice system, the way the mechanics work, the flow and dice manipulation would work really well on a board game with very little in the way of adjustment. And so Mad King's Eye was the next project that I started. And I've always been, I love dungeon crawlers, I love roguelikes. Again, like as I was saying before, it's that ability to make a build that's unique to you. I thought, well, this is doable. We've got a dice system that works really well, and that can translate really well to a board game, and it'll be quite fun to do. You just need a little bit of dice manipulation and some cooperative ways of helping each other, interacting with each other. And so, yeah, I just started playing with ideas. Started like rolling dice, getting a few people over and going, oh, let's just test this little interaction. Is this a fun mechanic? What's wrong with this? What doesn't work? And then it just started to build over time. The Mad King was a great kind of focus for that, being as where our stories, our home games in Kinsaw had been. The Mad King had just been banished to a realm outside of Kinsaw. So he would have brought many souls with him to entertain him in his exile, and still had connections to the outside world, ways of pulling people in to his realm to continue his entertainment. And I thought like a twisting dungeon that was built on the mind of an extremely powerful ancient being who is suffering from fits of madness that he cannot control sounded quite fun. And it meant you could have a little bit fun of the narrative within there. You can walk into a room in the dungeon that is a bank because the people there have just decided to set up and try and make the best out of their situation. And someone's seen a little opening and I'm going to make a bank and see if I can make some money out of this. And so you get these encounters in the rooms. You're like, okay, I'm in a tavern now. Oh, it's a library. Oh, there's an alchemy lab and they want me to, and they want to experiment on me. Having those choices when you never really know what you're going to get in the cards, and it worked really well for the narrative. So yeah, the dungeon aspect just kind of built out. I love a dungeon crawler. I love the idea of seeing how far you can push, how deep you can go into the dungeon before your build falls off, or a cruel twist of fate means you need additional help, or you might fall at the last hurdle, which has happened before many times during testing. My character was exploded just before reaching, and I mean exploded. A number of enemies literally exploded as I was one step away from the exit, with all of the other party members going, "Come on, you can do it!" And it was just that one little step, and it felt really narratively satisfying to die in a massive explosion. You think, like, no, I'm sorry, I didn't quite make it. And the reverse, your choices meaning victory or success. I did this on a recent demo testing with a load of people. And like, this is a spell that also hurts me, but it does so much damage, so I'll use this. And I did too well and almost killed myself. And then a card got drawn, which meant we all took some more damage, and I died. So it was just a case of I probably shouldn't have pushed so hard, but it was going really well until that point.
But that's player choice, right?
It's player choice. Yeah, so it's that push your luck. It's that element of pushing your luck. That push. It's like I could really do well if I do this. It'll make everyone's life really easy, but there's that cost, and I think that's the thing with, especially with cooperative games. If you lose, but you can say that choice I made to do that at that time, that's why we lost. That makes it really interesting. It's not just, oh, the luck was bad. it's we had a choice. I made a choice, and that's why we lost. So next time I've learned, and there's that element of learning. And I still don't learn because there's always that. I'm a high risk, high reward player. I like to make builds that just do really fantastic things, but are crazy to set up. It's what I've always done. I've always enjoyed that. You do have the ability to make a lot safer builds that are a lot more stable than the things that I like to put together. But having that option, I find is really fun. It's always a sign of a good co-op game and it breeds discussion as well after the game. So, it was this monster coming out and we couldn't possibly beat it. But then someone will say, well, hang on a minute. No, we could have done if we'd have spread out or if we'd have worked together to do this and to get this outcome. It feels quite fun. I like those conversations after the game where you kind of dissect the game that you've played and you realise that there was a story there as well. It wasn't just going through a dungeon, clearing out monsters. You realise that, whilst I was in the tavern trying to carouse with some of the other denizens, we had someone else running off, opening doors in the dungeon. Everyone else walks out of the tavern quite happy. Suddenly there's a ton of monsters just chasing this guy. And it's like, it feels quite fun and thematic. It's like, I made a mistake just as they're running over and then everyone has to deal with the outcome. It's always quite fun to deal with that. So there was a lot of testing involved. We played so much and tried to balance it just so the balance had to be, the game had to push again. The game always should fight you. You should always have that feeling of this could go wrong at any time. And even when things are going well, there's always that chance that one card drawn could mean you're suddenly challenged again. It should never be a clear-cut victory or defeat. And that balance, that took a long time to sort. There's a lot of testing, a lot of iteration, just to make the foes spawn at a rate that felt good, but not. It needs to be hard, not overwhelming, and not too easy. And that is a really hard balance to achieve. Any game that gets that right has succeeded, in my view. A lot of games don't. Not really.
Let's go talk about character building and the development across multiple games of Mad King's Ire and how that works.
Yeah, so there are multiple different game modes you can play which give you that option to develop your character. Certainly in Gauntlet mode and Campaign mode, in Gauntlet mode you keep a small element of your character development. You'll level up, you'll gain a skill, and you choose which skills you want to carry across. Every task you've completed is an additional skill you can take with you. So you can get more powerful slowly in the campaign. Everything carries across, but so does the state of the ire board, any other wounds and injuries you've taken. So you can slowly build your character over time, but you'll start feeling that attrition. The campaign is built as a challenge, as a real challenge. You'll need to know the game fairly well to get to the end of it, or get extremely lucky, or just play brilliantly. And there's that element of we have to work together to get to a point where we face the Mad King. And the Mad King is no pushover, I'll tell you that much. It's that development of, it's not just skills though, because you will find items, very powerful items, that could change the way you play your character entirely. You may find a sword that requires you to spend your own vigour, but does so much more damage and cuts through your opponent's armour. And you think, well, I don't need to worry about sundering their defences. I can go all out on attack. But then I need to find some way of healing myself, which is hard to come by. So you need, it might not work for every skill set. Certain items you might think, this won't work for me right now, but you might find you'll pick up something that will work for someone else at the table. And so there'll be that little discussion. It's like, you could use this. And suddenly you're more defensive, or suddenly you've got a greater method of attack. And that's really fun. Every item drawn is a moment of, let's consider this, let's have a look. And that's I've always been a big fan of that in any game, where you get an item or a skill that comes out and you think, what can I do with this? With the skill choices, when you level up, you get choice of 3 to choose from. It's that roguelike kind of mechanic of, what do I need for this run? What would work for my build at this time, considering other people's abilities? Do I take the ability to add detrimental tokens, bearing in mind that my friend over here does more damage to people with detrimental tokens? And you can think of that kind of balance. If you didn't have someone in the party that had that ability, you might consider a different option. Same with items. You'll pick up an item and think, well, this works with this skill, and maybe I'll get some other skills that will complement that later. So I'll use this item, I'll take this item with me for now. Having that flexibility in playing the game and a level of randomness means that you never play the same game twice. Because not only do you have multiple factors of controlled randomization, if you like, because they all build to a point. So you have the dungeon changing constantly, you have the variety of foes constantly, you have your skills and your items, all of which are randomized to a certain degree, and you have the ability to multi-class if you want to play around with another path's skills. You can do that as well. So you have all of these elements that build to a experience that you're never going to have the same twice. It's never going to repeat. I obviously played this multiple hundreds of times now and never had the same game. There's too many random factors in that. So it never really gets boring because there's always another challenge around the corner.
So off the back of that, who would you say the Mad King's Ire is for? What sort of gamer or player?
Well, that's the interesting thing, because having from the testing, I thought it would appeal to me, someone that likes crunch and a bit of narrative. But it's really appealed to quite a lot of people. People that love narrative will find the fun in there because the game tells a story as you play through. And there's the campaign mode, which gives you some choices, some narrative choices to make along the way as well. Every rune card also contains, there's a chance of narrative choices there, which will change how your rolls go. If you want the pure gamers that love the combat mechanics and like rolling dice and manipulating those dice to get the most successes, that's all there. So I found it appeals to quite a lot of different people. Certainly anyone that likes a fantasy RPG will love this. Someone that likes meaningful decisions, whether it's narrative or gameplay, in mechanical decisions, it's all there. We've had quite a few, and there's not really that many limitations on what you can build and put together. And that's always something I've been a fan of. The minute if I find the walls of a game, I lose interest. Yeah. If I reach a boundary and think, oh, that's the boundary, then I immediately start losing interest in the game. So that was a challenge for myself, as I needed to build a game that I wouldn't lose interest in. I'm always happy to play. So yeah, it's. I think there's a lot there to dig into and find for people, and we've had a whole range of people play the game and just really enjoy it. So what can I say?
Yeah. Is there a particular moments during gameplay that stick with you? You've mentioned a few already, and other people as well. I know for myself, I've only played it a handful of times, but it's things like the dice explosions and those moments where you feel like a god.
Yeah.
Those are the things that stuck with me about the game.
There was one when we were demoing the game at CGC in Canterbury back in August last year. We were demoing it for a few people, and they reached the prison, and there's a character called the Jailer that came out because they messed with his prison. And this is an elite foe with lots of hit points. He makes lots of attacks, and is incredibly dangerous. And we had one of our players, one of our heroes, steps up, charges at him, rolls the dice, explodes 1/6 10 times, and kills him. And the whole table goes crazy because you've seen a 6 has allowed him to roll another dice. It's a 6, which means he rolls another dice, so it's a 6. He's rolling again and again and again and again. And had I not been standing there watching the game, I would not have believed it. Everyone went mad. It was just that moment of absolute insanity of, oh my God, this has just happened. And it's so fun when it happens in the game. You get those explosions or you get those dice manipulations, and everyone turns around and looks at your dice result, and you have like 6 or 7 or more successes on your board, and everyone's like, oh, okay. So you've dealt with that foe now. It's like, yeah, just leave it with me. It's fine. And having that moment of, yeah, this works is really fun. Having certain narrative elements, certain spells do some really fun narrative things. So there's a spell called Reorientate where you twist the dungeon round into a different. You can twist a dungeon tile round into a different position, but then anyone in that room takes like a stunned token and takes some damage. And so we had a game where we were being chased by a legion of foes. There were so many enemies chasing after us. And our Glyph Weaver went, don't worry, I've got reorientate, get more in that room. And so we ran out of a room, load of monsters ran into the room. He twisted the room using reorientate around, and all of these monsters staggered out of the room like dizzy and disorientated. It was like, and the narrative feel to that, I could picture that happening. You're just looking at an open doorway and a ton of dangerous enemies just like walk out like dazed, holding their heads. And there's moments like that constantly. Every game will have something like that pop out. You might have a case of we've completed our task, the exit is open, it's time to leave, and then suddenly monsters pour out of everywhere, and you have that moment of we need to run. There are dangerous denizens of this realm trying to kill us. We need to go, and having that moment of we can stay and fight, but we may lose. Let's run. It's very fun to have to make that choice at the last minute, and then have to manipulate the board and your choice of what you're doing, your skills, to ensure that you do get out in time without getting bogged down by enemies.
So, we should probably talk about Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And Mad King's Ire.
Yes, we should. So obviously Kickstarter is the way that any game really gets funded nowadays. It's not just for small developers, which is a pity because we might get drowned out by the bigger boys. But this will make Mad King's Ire a reality and get it into people's hands quicker. So that's why we're going to Kickstarter. And it gives us a chance to reward people that put their money on they place their bet on us. If they're like people that back us and support us, we get a chance to reward them with a lot of little extras. We got some fun stretch goals planned out already. And there'll be a lot of Kickstarter exclusive expansions as well, which will add quite a lot of content. And even on the base game, there's so much in the way of variety that you're not going to get bored, but we'll be adding so many more in the way of foes, encounters, items, skills, characters. There is a expansion that will take the game up to 8 players, which is very chaotic and very fun.
Awesome. Cool. So, what should people do if they want to back you?
So, head over to. There should be. I hope that we'll have links everywhere. We have a landing page at the moment, which gives you a chance to just sign up for notifications when we launch. But there's also a special £1 VIP offer that we're putting up. This allows us to make sure that our message is getting out to the right people. People that back is an indication of, yes, I'd like to back this game, and it really helps for our marketing. And so we're rewarding people that do this with a expansion that's easily worth £8. It's probably worth slightly more than that, considering it contains 50 special items for the Mad King's Ire. When the base game will have 40 items plus a few unlockables, bring it up to about 60, I think. This adds another 50 items for you to discover and unlock, along with achievements to acquire in order to unlock the items.
For £1?
For £1. Yeah. It is a good bargain. There's a lot of additional content there, and it gives you achievements to chase and follow, and some really fun items with custom artwork for them all as well.
So I want to go back a bit and talk about all the contributions that you've had towards getting everything to where it is today from other people. Because it's not just you, is it? Converge Games is a team. It's
a convergence of ideas and people. That's pretty much, aside from the fact Converge is a Kinsor law appropriate term, it is also just that. It's bringing together of ideas to create what we created. The TTRPG wouldn't be where it is without the contributions from our writing partners in that, which is Mark, Nick, and Dan as a main point, and all of the playtesters and anyone that has put in and made a suggestion. All of this helps. I really like it when people do make suggestions in demos, because it all helps. And that's just on the writing side. I can't not talk about our illustrator. Lil Bluebird is so talented. I met her at Comic-Con a couple of years ago now, and instantly fell in love with her art. It's so vibrant. There's just nothing quite like it. And I was just lucky enough that she was taking commissions at the time, and then it's just gone on from there. It's amazing to work with someone that can take your ideas and make it a real thing. It is quite spectacular. It's like I can imagine a character in my head and put a description in, put a few little art pieces I found that something like this, something like that, and what comes out is better than I could ever possibly imagine. And some of these art pieces are also designed by various players from the past. Some of these represent old player characters or old creations of other people for previous games. So it really is an amalgamation. The art style, you'll find that a lot of the characters feel quite vibrant and alive almost. They've got a very particular look and style, mainly because of Little Bluebird's work, but also because they've come from, it's not just my brain that it's come from. I've taken ideas and full character creations from other people that they wanted to put into their game. So you get this very interesting mix of very different looking people, and they all feel very unique and individual. Very rarely cookie cutter.
It's awesome. Is there anyone else you want to shout out?
I mean, so many people. Like obviously the Starfall crew, Dan, Kai, Sam, and Anna. Their constant support. Just jumping on board and going, yes, we want to be part of a TTRPG stream. We don't care how many people watch it. We just want to play, and that always helps. It's a great excuse to meet up and game with people that I won't always get to see due to distance and other commitments. So yeah, that's great. We have some fantastic partners lined up for the Kickstarter as well. We're manufacturing Panda. We've got Games Quest on board to do our fulfillment. And of course, shout out to Launchboom for helping with marketing of the Kickstarter. I don't think we could got anywhere close without them, but we have some seriously big partners with us to get this game into people's hands.
Awesome. So what's next?
So we have a couple of projects coming up. Once we've got Mad King's Eye into people's hands, we have another game, smaller scale, which is pretty much ready to go as far as the rules are concerned. I think we're just touching it up and getting it ready, called the Archmage's Favour, which is a very quick to play card game where you're playing mages trying to vie for the Archmage's favour to become his new apprentice. So you'll be weaving spells and complicating other people's spells, throwing them off to try and score as many points as possible to win the game. It's quite a quick and sometimes very chaotic game, which is really fun to play in about 10 to 20 minutes.
Cool.
We also have going away slightly from Shattered Destinies as a TTRPG, we have a Dungeons & Dragons sourcebook, which is coming very, very soon. Final tweaks and changes being made at the moment. We found that quite a lot of our character building methods in Shattered Destinies, that blending of mechanics and narrative, could work really well for Dungeons & Dragons. So you have the ability to modularly build a character that gives you your abilities and skills and proficiencies as you build a backstory for your character at the same time. And quite an intuitive step-by-step way. In a way, we worked out, because of the way you can pick from lists or you can go random, but we worked out there's more than 3 million different combinations when you put it all together, which is quite considerable, along with new origin feats, new subclasses, and a new class as well. So quite a lot of content in that book as well. This also forms something of a introduction to the world of Kinsor. As you saw, all of our species and backgrounds are all based within the world of Kinsor. So you'll be able to delve a little bit deeper into the world of Shattered Destinies and get a bit of understanding of what the world looks like and who its people are and a little bit of the mythos involved with the creation of the world as well. So I think, and it'll be full of beautiful artwork. So
And that's going to be a hardback.
It'll be a hardback book. That'll probably be our next Kickstarter project. We've got quite a few fun things planned, special GM screen and dice, of course, everyone loves dice. And maybe a few other little surprises for the Kickstarter when that comes out. That'll be down the line somewhere. But that'll be the next big project for us.
Awesome. Right, I don't know. Is there anything else you want to say to people, or yeah?
Just thank you for your support. Those anyone that has already supported us, those that might be interested, please do check out the Kickstarter. If you've got the pound to spare and you want to get a free pack of items when you back the Mad King's Ire, please do so. 'Cause it really helps us. We are a brand new company. We're small. We're independent. We're just trying to get our games and our ideas out to people. So any little bit of support really helps at this stage. If you like what you're seeing, have a look, pass it on to people, share it with people you think might be interested. That will be a massive help. Check out the Starfall stream if you want to see the TTRPG in play with all of the chaos and craziness involved. There's close to 30 episodes on YouTube available now, and we stream on Twitch every week.
Awesome. Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you very much. Thank you.